Hi, everybody. My name is Greg Katz, and welcome to Thursday's second half kickoff edition of WeAreSC.com's Inside the Trojans Huddle, where we tell it like it is. Friends, Inside the Trojans Huddle is a game-like panel discussion that is posted on Tuesdays and Thursdays on WeAreSC.com and features WeAreSC columnists, staff writers, and historians. We first start off with the pregame show where we introduce our panel members for this edition of Inside the Trojans Huddle, and then give you the latest USC football news. Let's first meet Thursday's panelists, a WeAreSC columnist who writes WeAreSC.com's The Monday Morass, Yay or Nay, and Sunday Takeaways, in addition to regular season football and basketball practice reports. He also hosts his own podcast show entitled Locked On USC. That's Marc Kulkin, a former William Jewell College defensive back and WeAreSC columnist who writes the popular WeAreSC.com column Musings with Arledge, and has his own weekly WeAreSC.com video show Musings with Arledge, and is a graduate of the USC Law School, Chris Arledge. The chairman and CEO of WeAreSC.com, a USC graduate and a former Department of Justice supervisor and trial lawyer and general counsel for two large companies, Bruce Bagni, and a weekly WeAreSC columnist who writes Fridays The Obvious and Not So Obvious, IMHO Sunday, and is an active member of the Football Writers Association of America. Your moderator and producer of Inside the Trojans Huddle, Greg Katz. Now, before we kick off Thursday's edition of Inside the Trojans Huddle, here's some USC football news heading into this weekend. National Letter of Intent for high school players, which began on Wednesday, completes its open window on Friday. The Trojans appeared to have got off to a good start, but you never know with recruiting. WeAreSC.com will have a recruiting roundup next Tuesday in the huddle. And a reminder that while high school seniors are deciding on what they're going to do in the high school portion, portal transfers are hoping to participate in spring ball for USC in March. They must be registered. And just as a reminder, for spring classes, whether you're high school or a transfer, they'll begin on Monday, January 9th. And on the odds maker front, the Trojans are now a 2.5-point favorite to defeat Tulane in the Cotton Bowl. The odds may have slightly increased from 1.5, with some optimism that Heisman quarterback Caleb Williams might be able to play after suffering a significant hamstring injury in the Pac-12 title game against Utah. And as a courtesy reminder for those of you that are not currently a subscriber member of WeAreSC.com, right now for $10, you can access all of the WeAreSC premium stories, analysis, and videos. The current new member deal gives you complete coverage throughout this season, the bowl games, recruiting, spring football, all the way up to next season's WeAreSC.com cycle, which ends on August 31st, 2023. So with that, panel, let's kick off the second half and third quarter with a series of intriguing questions. First of all, panel, the Trojans have officially started spring ball, Cotton Bowl practice. What adjustments do you expect the coaching staff to make to put the Trojans in a better position to beat Tulane on January 2nd? Our leadoff hitter, as always, Marc Kulkin. What do you expect to happen?
I don't expect a whole lot of change, a lot of difference. Look, if Caleb Williams is playing quarterback, I'm also not going to anticipate him being 100%. I think him leaving the door open is more about selling tickets, getting fans into the stadium than anything else. And that's just using Lincoln Riley's own words. If we go back to what he said, if he had to play now, he wouldn't be able to. So hamstrings are tricky. If Miller Moss is the quarterback, and I think he's going to be starting, it's going to be how the offensive line can protect him. That's how you're going to adjust the game plan. Are you going to have quick short release drop and throws? Are you going to allow, or is the offensive line going to allow to run any type of RPO or any type of, play action to allow the receivers to get open downfield? So for me, I think I talked about it on Tuesday's show. How the offensive line goes is how this team is going to go versus Tulane.
Chris, what kind of adjustments do you think that we can expect from the coaching staff to put the Trojans in a better position to beat Tulane?
Yeah, I don't know. I agree with Mark on the offense, and I would just say defensively, it felt like USC's defense regressed the second half of the year. The first half of the year was a struggle, certainly in the run game. But you felt like we might be making some progress. And the second half of the year comes along, and every quarterback looks like a prime Joe Montana. And so I think that the time off is probably good for the team to reset. The defense has to tackle better,
Yes.
and the secondary has to cover better. And I don't know if they're capable of doing that or not. I think they're capable of playing a lot better than they were at the end of the year. And I don't know if that's so much about adjustments or it is about guys, for example, hitting, wrapping up, and continuing to move their feet instead of being so focused on stripping the ball they don't tackle anybody, which we saw a lot of. So I don't know. I don't know that it's adjustments. I mean, those guys know how to tackle, but they didn't do it. Are they going to tackle against Tulane? That would help. Tackling against Tulane would help win that game. And if they don't tackle against Tulane, the offense is going to have to score 45 points again. And I don't know if they can do that without a healthy Caleb Williams. So I'd like to see the defense actually show up and play hard and play well. And maybe they will. That'd be nice.
Bruce?
I would spend almost all the time working on tackling. And in terms of the defense generally too, we've got to contain the quarterback. I watched some of the film with Tulane, and this kid can move. He's a versatile quarterback, and he can throw the ball when he's moving, when he's flushed out of the pocket. We just need to contain big plays. I think part of it is and I'll touch on maybe on this later. I think the way college football has changed with this wide open passing game, with the RPOs and all that, but mainly of the throwing the ball as the first option. We're going to talk about Mike Leach in a minute, but this is his legacy in many ways. I just think that it's really hard to defend these offenses. I think that's part of the problem. And maybe there's less emphasis on it as well. But I think it's just very, very difficult to defend. And I saw us go through all kinds of different motions this year on defense, trying this, trying that. I don't think he blitzed nearly enough. But so I'm puzzled. I think the best thing they can do is getting back to what Chris said: tackle.
Well, I think that one of the adjustments will be, of course, if Miller Moss is the quarterback. And I'm kind of curious, if Miller Moss is the quarterback, what did he learn in watching Caleb Williams and how Caleb Williams got out of the pocket and scrambled and win to one? It wouldn't be unusual for me to believe that Caleb Williams has taught Miller Moss a few things that Miller, if he got into the game, might do some of the things that Caleb does. I'm not saying he'll do it as well, but from the scrambling, carrying the ball, again, it's too bad we can't watch practice because we know that the media is not allowed to watch it. So we really don't know how Caleb is doing in terms of his practices, or Miller Moss, or for that matter, who backs up Miller Moss. A lot of intrigue. I think defensively, Chris brought up a good point, this stripping the ball. We know that they want to have turnovers. I get it. But you know what? It was pretty apparent there in the Pac-12 championship game that it looked like all they wanted to do was strip the ball. And in the end, they gave up big plays, and that's not a good thing. So I don't know whether it's a philosophy, a strategy, whatever they're doing. They got to bring guys down when they get a hold of them. Okay, let the second guy try to rip the ball out. But so far, I agree with Chris. I mean, if that game's going to be in the 40s anything could happen. One thing we do know that's going to happen is the game is a sellout already, officially announced by the Cotton Bowl.
There you go.
And you know what? I don't know how many of those fans are going to be Tulane fans or resold tickets, but it'll be a lively environment nonetheless. All right, let's move on here. Panel, although Lincoln Riley inherited a mess in terms of defensive talent at USC, what can Riley do to change his developing image that he only cares about offense, a perception that actually goes back to the days as the head coach at Oklahoma? Mark, is this a real or unreal perception?
Well, it's, you know, what do they say? Each man's perception is a reality. So we all saw the same thing. The defense was the weak link of the team. We're talking about tackling. I don't know how much you can change in a month and a half, a month of practice to improve what you were practicing for months leading up to the season and into the season, during the season. I don't know. So how you change that is just by, you know, improving, you know, looking better. And, you know, the obvious answer is, well, Lincoln will care if he replaces his current defensive coordinator with a better defensive coordinator. You're not going to get that right now. That's not happening. So the next step is you got to get better players, and you have to develop them better. There's really only two solutions. You either change the coaching staff or you bring in players. You're not changing the coaching staff right now.
Chris, let me ask you, do you think that Lincoln Riley is aware of this growing perception that he's all he cares about is his offense? And what can he do to change that perception?
Lincoln Riley's way too smart a guy not to do that. Here's the thing: it's not a matter of caring. I'm sure he cares, just like I'm sure that Paul Hackett cared about his team turning the ball over all the damn time, and I'm sure that Clay Helton cared about the fact that his team couldn't convert a 3rd and 1. It's not a matter of caring; it's a matter of doing the things you have to do to fix it. And to date, Lincoln Riley hasn't shown that his defensive staff will recruit players, develop them, and have them play well. He hasn't. I think he probably will do that, but he hasn't proven it yet. And if you're a defensive recruit who doesn't have any particular ties to Southern California, it's not unreasonable to say that if I go to Alabama or Georgia or play defensive line at Ohio State, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get developed into a top pro. And if I go to USC, I don't know. That's not an unreasonable thing for people to think. So, I've already expressed that I was upset that I thought the defense regressed as the year went on when I was actually standing up for them the first half of the year. That was disappointing. But I also realized going into the season, the USC did not have top-line defensive talent. They didn't. We all knew that. We knew that from the beginning. So the question is, what can he do to in the coming years? And the answer is recruit well, develop well, and play well. And unless they start to do that, there are going to be a lot of skeptical defensive players and high school coaches. That's just the way it is.
Bruce, from where you watch games, vantage point, is this a coaching problem on defense that has not been addressed by Lincoln Riley? Because it all goes back to Lincoln Riley. He's the one who's getting the big bucks and living in the palatial castle that he lives up there in Palos Verdes area. What does this all get down to as far as changing this image that he only cares about offense?
Yeah, well, you know, I agree with what Chris said and what you guys are saying, that he certainly cares about it. The question is, is he willing to make the changes and make the moves that need to be made to shore up the defense? I mean, the number one thing is bigger, faster, stronger, right? I mean, it's real simple. You know, it ain't about the X's and the O's, it's about the Jimmies and the Joes, that old expression. And we've been a little short in that regard. And that's something that needs to be done. again, I get back to, I think it's very difficult to defend these offenses. These multi-dimensional offenses that run these RPOs and have great passers, and that's the thing I worry about in the Cotton Bowl is this kid is not Joe Montana, but we could make him look like Joe Montana. We've made a lot of, as Chris said, we've made a lot of quarterbacks look like superstars, and it's because we don't contain them. And I think that's a lot of, I'm not an expert on the schemes. I wish Kevin Bruce were here right now. But I think part of it is the scheme. I don't think we put enough guys on the line of scrimmage sometimes. I think we play too loosely, too much man-to-man defense. I think it requires a complete restructuring of the defense. And if that's, you start with a new coach, which I think the point was made earlier that it's unlikely that he's going to fire one of his boys. But if I were he, that's what I would do. And I'd get a really tough defensive coach in there to change the whole mindset.
Well, I think, Bruce, you hit the nail on the head. You know, first of all, there's a, as you say, built-in excuse that there wasn't a lot of talent on the cupboard defensively. So everyone understands that. But the one link between the Oklahoma perception and fairly or unfairly what's happened to USC in the first year is it's the same defensive coordinator, Alex Grinch. I would like to see better talent to run Alex Grinch's system and see how that works out. But I can't imagine that if there's not significant progress after next year, especially getting ready to head into the Big Ten, it wouldn't shock me, no matter how close these are, quote, his boys coaching, that Lincoln Riley wouldn't be open to a change. He's got to get somebody in there, if it doesn't work out with Alex Grinch, somebody in there that is a show-stopping, attention-turning defensive coordinator. We know that SC has opened up the pocketbook. They will go after a big-time coach. And the fact of the matter is Lincoln Riley's getting paid so much money, I don't think he's going to jeopardize anything about his perception or his production because he's just such a loyal guy. I don't think that's going to happen. So this is a big year next year coming up for Alex Grinch. And personally, I hope he does get the job done.
I just one last point I want to make on this.
Sure.
We know that it's not going to happen this year, you know, where all of a sudden Lincoln Riley is going to say, hey, you know what, you're my boy, but I got to replace you. But if a high-end donor starts twisting Mike Bones' arm, and that's when the pressure will start being applied to Lincoln Riley. When Mike has to hear it from the guys, that's when Lincoln Riley will feel the pressure to make an adjustment if he needs to make one.
I don't think we know anything.
Exactly.
I mean, look, if Lincoln Riley was interested in a different defensive coordinator, we wouldn't know that right now. He wouldn't say it. He's not going to talk about that before the bowl game. He's not going to talk about that before signing day. Do I think he'll fire Grinch? I don't, because I think he believes Grinch is a good coach. He's known him for a few years now and thinks he can do it. So I think he believes in Grinch. But I'll say this: Lincoln Riley has a lot at risk, and Lincoln Riley came to USC not so he could finish in the top 10 most of the time. He could have done that at Oklahoma. He came to USC because he thought he could build what Nick Saban has built at Alabama. And he's not going to risk that. And yeah, next year is a big year for Alex Grinch, because if USC lands a handful of guys in the transfer portal that I think they can land, USC could win a national title next year if they play competent defense. The offense is going to be off the charts good. They're going to have to win 2 tough road games. Frankly, they have to win 1 tough road game and then win the conference, and they'll get in. So what I'm suggesting is that Lincoln Riley's not in a position where he can sort of waste next year and let's see what happens. Next year, he has Caleb Williams and a loaded offense. And if he can convince somebody like Tulane to come back and pick up a couple guys in the front 7 He literally could win the national title if they're competent on that side of the ball. That's not an opportunity you blow. So he better be confident in Alex Grinch, because keeping that defensive staff intact, if they're the wrong staff, is a huge missed opportunity. Huge.
All right, panel. Mississippi head coach Mike Leach sadly passed away last week at 61 years old. And many coaches out there are part of the Leach coaching tree, especially Lincoln Riley, who had some very thoughtful things to say about the late coach and his ability to work with Coach Leach and learn from him. What are your thoughts on the passing of Coach Mike Leach and his overall effect on college football, Mark?
Sad. I mean, you look, you mentioned Lincoln Riley. That's just one branch of his coaching tree. Dave Aranda, Sonny Coombe, Dana Holderson, Seth Luttrell, Art Briles, Ken Wilson, Neil Brown, Josh Heupel, Eric Morris, Sonny Dykes, Cliff Kingsbury, Alex Grinch. I mean, there's more names that I haven't rattled off yet. So besides being a offensive savant, he was a lawyer. He went to Pepperdine. He was one of the greatest sound bites and interviews you're ever going to get. And he was unafraid to go outside the box. And he wasn't afraid to lock you in a box. So college football lost a great character of the game, I guess is the best way to say it. He's going to be missed.
Chris, your thoughts about the passing of Mike Leach?
I think Mark used a good word, character. Here's the thing about Mike Leach. There are so few innovators, really in any industry. But if you look at major college football, the NFL, there are so few true innovators out there. And Mike Leach was a true innovator. He really was. And he and Hal Mumme really created a system that completely changed the way college and NFL offenses play, and changed what defenses have to do. And that's amazing. But what was really great about the guy is that he, for somebody who clearly was an outside the box thinker when it came to football, and no doubt spent all kinds of time trying to think through strategy and tactics and X's and O's. What was amazing about Mike Leach is all the other interests he had and his willingness to talk about them. He was the most interesting guy in college football. And some of it was just his weirdness, right? His focus on pirates or UFOs or these other things that he would just go off on. He was a fantastic person to listen to. And so, yeah, a great coach, a great innovator, and just a really interesting human being. There is nobody like him, and there probably never will be anybody like him again. So he'll be missed.
Bruce, you've seen a lot of coaches come down the pipe.
Yeah.
What are your reflections on Mike Leach?
Yeah, well, he was an innovator. And as Chris was saying, he fundamentally changed the way we play football in this country. And it's not just college. You look at the high schools, look at the NFL. And another thing, going back to something that Chris said, most of these coaches, they're followers. Okay, it blows my mind to see them all lining up in the same formations all the time. NFL, college, high school, and every once in a while you'll see a guy, go into the power I or run a single wing or some sort of an option deal, and it's very, very refreshing. And I don't know whether or not there'll be any others coming along down the pike, but his legacy is that he changed the way football's played. He changed the way, like Chris was saying, the way defenses think about defending these offenses. It's a lot different in the old days, where you just sort of lined up on the line of scrimmage and loaded up and stopped the run in the short passing game. This is a whole different game now. And again, I go back to my point. I think it's very hard to defend these teams. And I think Leach is responsible for creating that environment. that we deal with today in football.
Yeah, I think that Leach, you could put him in maybe a handful of coaches that changed the game. John McKay with the I formation, and then Darrell Royal and Emily Ballard with the wishbone. Obviously, I think you'd have to respect Chip Kelly and what he did at Oregon, since we see that same formation all over the place. And I think Mike Leach did his thing, which gave a lot of teams a chance to win games that if they had been in other formations in the past, wouldn't have had the same opportunity to win games. And the fact of the matter is even though Lincoln Riley is from the Leach school, he took part of what Leach did and he added a power running game to it. But the point is he did lay the foundation for a lot of coaches that are very successful. And that's, did he leave college football in better shape than he found it? I think that was true. And in terms of a personality, who wouldn't want to listen to him? He was so off the wall that you could ask him a question of how was your offensive line today? And he's talking about whether you should elope to get married. I mean, he just talked about anything that came right into his mind. I have to say that I felt, as I reflected upon it, the times I was around him at Pac-12 media days, and just he always looked as though he was looking somewhere else and his mind was somewhere else. But when he talked, you would start putting your pen to that notepad because he had plenty to say. So bless Mike Leach and his family. He will be sorely missed. All right, now in the tradition of Inside the Trojans Huddle and a symbolic tribute to USC Coliseum home games. Those of you who have been with us over the many episodes here, we are going to light the official WeAreSC torch. There we go.
Looks like we need to make an official torch run to Target or something to pick up an.
I think that's a well said. We're running out of the lighting, shall we say. Anyway, we come to what we call our Big Ten lightning round of 10 rapid fire questions and rapid fire answers. So, excuse me. So here we go, guys. I will ask you yes or no questions. Just a simple answer is all we need. Question 1, yes or no? In 2024, USC will either host Ohio State or Michigan in the Coliseum. Chris?
Absolutely yes. I'll be surprised if they don't do that.
Mark?
If they play both teams in the same year, yes.
I say yes.
Bruce says yes. I say yes as well. It's a TV bonanza. They're not going to lose a shot of that. All right, question 2, yes or no? Should USC have a Caleb Williams bobblehead giveaway at a 2023 home game, Chris?
Yeah, as long if it helps line Caleb Williams' pocket, I'm all in favor.
Mark?
Sure, why not?
Why not? Okay, Bruce?
My answer is why not too.
My answer is what took so long? Question 3, yes or no? Should USC should have a fan giveaway at every home game in 2023? Chris?
Yeah, why not?
It's fun.
Mark?
Sure.
Bruce?
It's fun, yes.
Yes, I think that based on other sports teams in Los Angeles area, so many of them have giveaways that SC would be missing the boat. They can find an advertiser to pay for it. Question 4, yes or no? USC will have a better defense in 2023 than 2022. Chris?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes, and I must gonna add something. My wife's family always had a great line. You can't fall off the floor.
Very profound. I will say yes, hopefully they will. Question 5, yes or no? USC should put Reggie Bush's jersey back among the other Heisman Trophy winners in the peristyle end of the Coliseum for home games in 2023. Chris?
Yes, they never should have taken it down.
Mark?
Yep.
Are you really asking me this question?
I just work here.
Yes, put it on record again.
Bruce?
Yes, 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 and I'm still pissed off that we did not fight the NCAA the way we should have. Looked away what Miami did, and they got off basically scot-free for violations far, far worse than anything we ever did.
All right, I'm going to say yes, because he did win the Heisman Trophy. That's how I'll look at it. Question 6, yes or no? USC will sell nationally 10,000 or more Caleb Williams number 13 jerseys before the first game next season. Chris?
I have no idea what sort of numbers those jerseys sell, so I don't know. But because it's Caleb Williams, I'll say yes. I have no idea.
Yeah, we're looking at it nationally now, so it's not just a localized thing. So,
I have no idea. But Caleb Williams exceeds expectations, so yes.
okay, Mark?
Yes.
Bruce?
Wouldn't be surprised, yes.
I think they will nationally. 10,000 will be sold. Question 7, yes or no? USC will get at least one more high-powered wide receiver before next training camp in August. Chris?
I think they already got their portal splash at wide receiver. I'm going to say no.
Okay, Mark?
No.
Bruce?
No, no. Dorian Singer was the guy.
And I agree. You know, they got the man. Question 8, yes or no? The NCAA needs to eliminate the targeting penalty. Chris?
I hate the targeting penalty, but I don't think they're going to get rid of it, and I don't think they should. I think they need better rules on how to enforce it. I think it stays in place.
Mark?
Yeah, what Chris just said.
Bruce?
Yes, but it needs to be it needs to be somehow redefined and rethought, but it can't be eliminated. There's far too much CTE in football. And our guys, all of them, if in one form or another, will probably end up suffering from it. So absolutely, it must stay, but refine it somehow.
Okay, I don't think the NCAA needs to eliminate the targeting penalty for all the reasons that Bruce gave. Question 9, yes or no? When SC goes to the Big Ten, no Coliseum Conference home games will start later than 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. Chris?
No, I think they're still going to play some late games so that the Big Ten can dominate that late time slot.
Mark?
Yeah, when you're playing the lower echelon of the Big Ten, I don't think they carry enough cachet to force a 3:30 kickoff in the Midwest.
All right, Bruce?
What I prefer is yes, don't start later than that. But will they? I don't know. I think it's all about money.
All right, I will hope that they don't start games past 5:30 p.m. Pacific time, which of course would be 8:30 on the East Coast. So that has to be taken into account. Question 10, yes or no? Within 4 years, starting in 2023, USC will win a national championship under Lincoln Riley. Chris?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes, more than one.
Wow. I'll say optimistically, yes. All right. Let's go to the fourth quarter. The spirit of Inside the Trojans Huddle is here with a suggestion for a holiday present, since we know that the holidays are upon us now. Panel, this weekend, Fanatics, the official store of USC Athletics, began selling NIL Pick a Player Home or an Away jersey, which are somewhat modeled after the jerseys worn during the John McKay or John Robinson era of the 70s. That's with the shoulder stripes not on the shoulders, but on the bicep areas. The NIL Pick a Player USC uniforms of your choice have the name Trojans on the front, above the frontal number of the player of your choice, and the number of that player and the name of that player on the back. A majority of the players are available from the 2022 roster. For example, if you select Caleb Williams, and it's number 13. The number 13 will be on both sides of the jersey, and Caleb's last name will be on the back. The new available jersey also has players' numbers on both shoulder sleeves, I might add. You also have the option of putting your name and number and name of your own if you wish, instead of a current player. There's also a black USC football jersey option available as well. So what does that lead to? Panel, in this new uniform push, a precursor of what could we be seeing the future of USC teams wearing these type of jerseys in 2023? Your overall thoughts? Bruce, are we going to see this?
I have, honest to God, I have no idea. I would just be appalled if we went in this direction. But I wouldn't be surprised.
Now, you had a couple of jersey. Did you have?
Yeah, let me show these.
Those that are watching on video. I know those are podcasts. Maybe don't see.
Yeah,
it,
so here's the sleeve. This is a jersey of Marcus Allen's. See the sleeve that you were talking about, Greg?
Correct.
And here's Ronnie Lott's. He actually gave this to me a long time ago. Here's Ronnie's home jersey, again with the stripes on the arm. I think these are really cool looking uniforms. I'd be happy to have these again. But again, it's the same motif, really. I mean, it's in the same colors.
All right, Chris, is this going to be a precursor, this NIL stuff that they're now selling, that we can expect to see it on the field in 2023?
No, USC's not going to put names on the jerseys. They're not going to have uniforms that are not cardinal and gold and white. I think they'll probably try throwback uniforms and other things occasionally, which I don't have a problem with. But I think there's too much tradition there for USC to mess around with that. And you can sell the uniforms the way they're selling them in the bookstore and divert money to the players without screwing with tradition.
Mark, you're a traditionalist. Is this going to happen? Are we going to one day see them come through the tunnel in next season and they're going to be wearing this type of uniform to sell uniforms? Plus, the question is, Mark, you probably have an opinion on this. If SC doesn't do that, are they depriving players of exposure to make money from NIL jerseys?
They're not depriving them. Sell the jersey number. If you want to buy a player's jersey number and have that player's name on the back of it, order it that way. Then send part of the proceeds to the player, whatever the NIL compensation package is. I'm fine with that. I don't want to see one player running out on the field with the word Trojans across the front of their jersey. You've got the SC interlocking logo. That's your representation there. If you want to do the throwback jersey with the 3 stripes, I'm good with that. But no, we don't need the name on the back. You don't need the Trojans going across the front. You got that on the basketball jerseys. That's fine. The football, there's a reason why certain schools have kept their uniform the way it is. USC, Penn State, Alabama, Michigan, you recognize them when they run on the field every single time. You don't need to get all Oregonish to fill the players' pockets. You don't need to do it. You can fill the players' pockets selling the crap out of the bookstore or online or buying it from Fanatics or whomever. And if you want to have the name put on the back, have it put on the back.
All right, I'm going to say that I don't know that it's going to happen in 2023, but I'm going to say it's going to happen because when players are presented with the idea of making more money through NIL, this would be a big recruiting ploy. We'll put your name on the back. You can parade around the field and be getting people to want to buy your jersey because they're going to see it on the field for 60 minutes or 35 minutes. So I think it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen. I just don't know if it's going to be next year, but it could. Overtime. The NCAA allows players that have competed in at least 4 games this 2022 season. They've made a new rule that you can play in a 5th or even 6th game during the 2022 bowl season while not losing a year of eligibility your views on this NCAA decision. Mark, good idea, bad idea?
Fantastic idea. I got zero issue with this. I thought I understand why the rule was in place before, but at this point with the transfer portal, it cancels it out regardless. So 4 games, 5 games, 6 games, who cares?
Bruce, what do you think? Do you think it's a good idea to do that?
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I wanted to ask you guys a question. Did Domani Jackson play? Was he going to be redshirted? Do we
I have to
know?
go back and see how many games he's actually played in. He's been spot playing throughout the season. I'm not sure.
And were there other guys that come to mind who were being redshirted, who would otherwise not be able to play in the Rose Bowl or in the Cotton Bowl?
As long as they haven't played more than 6 games, everyone's eligible for this extra.
No, I understand that. I'm just trying to remember, think back about the guys who actually redshirted, which
Gary
is probably
Bryant?
pretty meaningless now.
Gary Bryant, maybe Gary Bryant gets to play for a game. Who knows?
Oh, maybe. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Chris?
I think it's a good rule. I think this is a recognition by the NCAA that there are lots of guys who choose not to play in a bowl game. And then with the transfer portal and guys dropping out, that you could easily have a situation where teams just don't have enough guys to play unless you make this change, which is unsafe, right? It's not safe to not have enough players out there. So I think that I think this is probably good. I think the NCAA should go further and just say guys have 5 years of eligibility, and not worry about whether or not you played. You can play 4 years of the 5. Just give them 5 years to play and 5 years to graduate. I don't know why you still need these old-fashioned redshirt years anyway.
So
Yeah, I agree with Chris. I like that idea of play. You got 5 years. Do what you want with it. I don't know all that many people that go 4 years straight through college and get their degree. Sometimes it's a 5-year deal depending on what you're going for and whether you go for a master's. But if the idea is to keep the game strong, it's already been weakened by three and out, so to speak, for those that are going to the NFL. In fact, players talk about it. Yeah, I'll be there for 3 years, then I'm out. Anything to keep them to want to play. I mean, I think the NIL will probably help keep players in college, at least some of them. So this idea of a 5-year plan is very reasonable to me. I know that COVID was a good excuse to give players an extra year, but I think in quote further review, I think it's a great idea. So maybe that'll be the next thing that we see as far as rule changes. Okay, that'll do it for Thursday's edition of Inside the Trojans Huddle. So until next Tuesday, a big thank you to our panelists, Marc Kulkin, Chris Arledge, and Bruce Bagni. And a special thank you to all of you for watching or listening to Inside the Trojans Huddle. Have yourself a great Christmas and Hanukkah weekend. Go Trojans. And until next Tuesday, this is your moderator, Greg Katz, saying beat Tulane and fight on, everybody.